Ever wondered what really goes on in the life of a health and fitness coach? Let's take a deep dive into the completely uncut version of what motivates our team to do what they do. Welcome to Behind the Drive. Cool. Here we are. Nicholas, nice to see you.
It's good to see you.
I was saying before, it's probably been 2-3 months since I saw you last.
Yeah, I've been a little bit like AWOL.
You've been busy. That's what you've been doing. Because you've just passed. We'll start with that to begin with. You've passed?
Yeah, passed it.
Passed?
Passed it all, yeah.
Do you want to explain what you've just been studying for the last 3 years, almost?
4.5.
Yeah, I was going to say, but like 2 years of masters and then the two undergradish years before.
Yeah, so it was 3 years of exercise science is where it all began. At that point, I got to the end and I was just like, do you know what? I think there's a little bit more here for me. I want to see what I can kind of crack at. So applied for osteo. I wasn't sure what, actually, if we go a little bit further back, we were doing exercise science and I was doing Rise internship.
Yeah.
I guess that's where we met there.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, we had met before.
But yeah.
And I was trying to figure out that avenue. Did I want to do EP or did I want to do something a little bit more hands-on?
A little bit, yeah.
And I think, I don't know, Dad got in my ear one day and he was just like, maybe try osteo.
You've seen osteos throughout your life, haven't you? Or did you only start practicing?
Yeah, I'm like the same as everyone else. I had no idea what osteo was. I think when I was doing a little bit of research about it, what got me was more so that avenue that there was a lot less osteos in Australia compared to like physio.
How many are in Melbourne? There's like 100?
60% of osteo is in Melbourne.
Yeah.
You're sitting at probably around maybe 1,200 or something like that. Osteos. Total. So that got me. And I think just knowing that like that's so similar to what a physio does, what a chiro does. We're all very similar. We just have our own sort of approach to it differently. Chose to do osteo, got through the bachelor of that, so that was just 3 years again, and then jumped into the masters. 20 days counting, nearly there.
So close to the end. So we've jumped to that first, but I just wanted to set the scene of like where you've kind of come from first. If we rewind further back, like what got you into health and fitness? What even pushed you to get into exercise science to start with?
So I did a kind of like different route with my schooling. I left normal school in year 10 and I went to Seaton. Know all about it. That's how you know Kieran. Yeah. And through that, we actually had to do a 13th year. Basically, it was like a diploma of sport. Yeah. And that got us that like that door into uni.
Because you don't have a year 12. Yeah, you don't have an ATAR score, so you have to go through and do the diploma to kind of like a high level of education to match it.
Basically, yeah. So did the diploma that got me into uni, and it was always going to be some sort of like sport, whether it be sport and sports science, exercise science. That was always going to be the goal.
Sports development or business management or something.
I don't know why I chose clinical practice, exercise science, but that literally just came from nowhere. I was like, actually, you know what? I'll do this one. Went away from sport. I don't know why. But as I was getting into it, I realized like, actually, look, I really enjoy this. This is a lot of fun. At that point, like, just started training, started working on myself and everything, and it opened those doors for me. And it was only once I got about halfway through exercise, that's when I was like, all right.
What were some of like the classes that you were taking that made you go, no, I'm actually in the right spot here?
It was definitely the resistance training ones, yeah. And I'm sure you would have been basically the same with that. That and just learning about the body. I think one of the units I did in first year, structural kinesiology. I remember this is me like I said, I went to a school that was very focused on sport rather than the academics afterwards.
Where'd you go?
So Seaton, yeah.
And before that?
Before that was Baldwin. That was very academic and didn't tie in well with me initially. Got somewhere that I actually enjoy. And I remember that first year at uni, it was structural kinesiology. I did like a practice quiz. Did terrible. And I think that was a bit of like a kick in the guts saying that like you can't kind of just breeze through this. You've actually got to put your head in the books and make sure you understand. So I went back home and I started like going over and over bones, muscles, constantly page, write it down, turn it over, do it again. Write it
posters up on your wall?
Posters up on the wall, go through it. And I remember I did the actual quiz for that one and I got a much better result. And that was like a turning point for me to like know that like, actually, you know what? You found something that you actually enjoy. Who says you can't study and actually take this
and enjoy it as well? Do you think did you ever have thoughts of going into other fields like, I don't know, accounting or like finance or something like that? Or was it this moment where you thought, I can enjoy and do well at it, that you were like, that's where I have to go?
I think when I was younger, like year 9, you know, you did that like placement thing. What's it? Yep. Work experience?
Yeah. You have to do a certain amount of hours for a week or something.
Yeah. I chose to do like graphic design.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Where'd you do it? What was
it was a place actually in Richmond. No, I couldn't tell you the name.
And you just didn't like it, or what?
I didn't mind it actually, because back then I actually really enjoyed drawing. Mm-hmm. Can't draw to save my life now, but not enough practice obviously. But I just went there and I enjoyed it. It was fun, but it wasn't something that stuck with me really.
What do the parents do then? Like what are their roles? Do they influence anything that you do now?
I think more so it's just the drive that they have.
Yeah, cool.
So obviously I've explained it to you before. My parents are South African. Mm-hmm. I'm South African. I was born there. I think it takes a big risk for you to move countries, leave your family back at home, and then just kind of work for your family, really. And just seeing how much, and like the stories that they've always told me, like they had to give up a lot of things, and they had to like wake up early mornings in the night just to like put the heaters on to make sure that we were fine. But just to see their drive as they've been able to push themselves, knowing that like you're not going to get anywhere unless you put in the hard work. So I think for both me and my sister, that's always been something that's given us that sort of like wisdom to try and chase and make sure that we do the exact same thing for our family when we go forward.
Because I think, obviously I don't know it that well, but I don't think a lot of people understand what South Africa's like as a country. Do you want to give us a little bit of an insight into the financial aspect, the crime, or that type of stuff?
Yeah, so I actually just came back from South Africa again. I was down in December. I took my girlfriend with me. And it's pretty funny, like I've been with her for 6.5 years, but she's never been there. And because of obviously COVID, that's just been such a breakdown and everything. South Africa is a developing country, so it's not how we see what it's like here in Australia. It's not safe in certain places to walk. I guess it's the same here. You got to have your wits about you, but you wouldn't be seen doing that by yourself. You got to be with family, you got to be with people you know, otherwise you don't feel safe. South Africa is this small little spot like this. Think about how big Australia is right now. South Africa is double the amount of people in this small little area. So because of that, there's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of people who there's no jobs at all. Yeah. Anything they can try and get, they will. So you'll get people who will try and like watch your car when you park. That's a job.
Yeah.
So smallest little things. But yeah, it's a beautiful city. Beautiful country. I'm from Cape Town, so city-wise, it's amazing. But yeah, there's just everything that kind of comes from being your own person there. Kind of gets taken away from you when you're there.
Does it, like, obviously you don't know what it's like to live 30, 40 years ago. Does it feel like you go back in time a little bit when you travel there?
A little bit. Like, it's improved a lot since it was back then. And like my family being coloured South Africans, they went through apartheid, and that was very challenging for them. So again, that whole thing and how I look at my parents as well comes from that as well. I guess if you look as well, like we have a really good government that looks after us, right? They have nothing. Like there's no like support systems, there's no Centrelink, nothing like that. So people stay in poverty all the time. There's no changing that unless they're lucky. Yeah,
lucky, or they try and move countries, they seek refuge.
Again, then there's also, do you have the money to even get yourself over?
Right, yeah. So then your family came over here, and you've seen them kind of like put so much effort in, because you work a lot. Like ever since we've been working together, and before that, like I know you've done multiple things at once, and it's something that can be challenging at times.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to call Nick, and I'm like, guess I'm not getting him today. And I get 2 days later, I was like, yeah, I was doing X, Y, Z, and like you were just doing 100 things. Is that like that's where you feel like you got it from? Just like seeing them do that, so you had to replicate, or it was just natural?
I think it's hard to say on that one. I think that one's a little bit more natural. I think before I even started at Get Going, I was definitely not like that.
You don't think?
No.
What changed then?
I don't know. I think when I first started with Get Going, it was kind of just thrown into the deep end. You remember we didn't necessarily have, like you were just a starting team. Team leader.
I didn't really know what I was doing. I was like, who can I find that I think would go really well in a team? Like literally, I was like sports team. If we were to make a sports team, people like Scott, like yourself, and like other people that I've met before, who's going to work just really well together? If we were to sit around and have a drink, that was literally the only focus.
You tick that box.
And then if you have a general skill set of like you're in the field, we can like work on the rest, and you'll learn the rest without me having to kind of influence the personality. So like that was my perspective. Like why did you feel like that sink or swim kind of helped?
I guess like being thrown in the deep end and kind of having to fend for yourself was what kind of pushed me past my boundaries, pushed me out of that comfort zone that I'm used to, made me have to do all those little things like research constantly, make sure I've got the right sort of like templates before going forward. All these new trainers get these little
the templates are already made for them. They got an app, or even just like having to manage your own clients, like knowing that if you don't look after these clients, they're going to be waiting and you're not going to knock on their door if you don't knock up.
And I think exactly how we kind of push forward these days on making sure that you're accountable to your clients, doing those little extra things, making sure you're checking in on them a couple of days after your session even. Just making sure that they're in the right frame of mind and they're enjoying themselves before they go forward.
It sounds like a level of like responsibility was forced upon you.
Yeah.
So I had to push you.
I was going to say, to be honest, it's probably what I needed.
To give some context, Nick was interested, but he was a little bit on the fence, and I think you had a couple of conversations with your dad about it as well. And I was never trying to be pushy. I just thought it was going to be a good opportunity for you, and I thought you'd do really well with us. So I was like, if I can get him here,
I'm pretty sure Chelsea even tried to get me early on in the day.
Very possible, very possible.
It's quite funny. I had a chat with Dad, and he was like to me, if you get a new opportunity and you're not sure, or you feel like it's not, like you're not ready for it, say yes, because then you give yourself time to prepare for it.
Yeah.
I don't think I prepared for it, but I went to it. And
you did it.
And where are we now? Three years later?
Nearly 3 years. Coming up to 3 years very soon. I think November, you'll be at 3 years. So tell me more about like the starting point, because we said you started there. You also then decided to take on a couple of other things to kind of boost the skill set whilst you were going into the end of exercise science and osteo. Mm-hmm. Like, what else did you do?
So it was a bit of a kind of play it by ear for the first year. That was obviously, I would have been maybe into my first year of osteo, so I was pretty focused on that. It's once I hit second year and I was starting to learn techniques and everything that I was like, okay, I need to try and start doing things that I'm enjoying the personal training side of things, but I still need to get a little bit of hands-on sort of work and make sure I'm actually getting bang for my buck.
Yeah, because the theory is great and the exercise is part of the process,
and that's definitely been a huge skill set for me, as opposed to a lot of like the ones coming out of osteo. Like, I wouldn't consider myself as talented as a lot of the physio students, but knowing that I've got that background when it comes to the exercises, as opposed to a lot of the osteo guys, is pretty awesome.
Your hands-off is going to be... You're coming into it with 2 years plus of hands-off experience.
Exactly.
When a lot of that is going to be what gets people to maintain the outcomes that you're trying to get them.
Yeah, definitely. So in that second year is when me and a couple of mates from uni, we decided that we wanted to jump into like a sports trainer role. I actually went down to Forest Hill Football Club. So this is like Div 4 Eastern Football League, kind of lower teams.
They kick a ball around.
They kick a ball around. little bit different nowadays, but we jumped into it, and like we actually loved it. It was a lot of fun. We were learning from like our head trainer was actually funnily enough, he was a 4th year osteo student. So he wasn't even like completed yet, but there was like 5 of us, and we were all osteo students, all learning from one another, all kind of just jumping into it. And like I had so much fun. And at the end of that year, I was like, okay, I want to see if I can try and learn a little bit more. And over the last sort of 2.5 years, I've been at Norwood Football Club, which is Premier Division Eastern Football League. We've got a head osteo.
Did you see my brother the other week?
What?
He's playing at East Ringwood.
I honestly didn't know you had a brother.
They played East Ringwood last week, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we won.
Yeah. I know. He was spewing. I think they lost, and he still got best on. He would have Ruckman.
Young, he dominated.
Boy. He's a big boy.
Has he got the long hair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was right. Yeah, he dominated.
There you go. There you go. So you went to Norwood, and then like, what was the difference between the step up between that club and the new one?
Huge difference, like just the extra, like, I guess, trainers involved. So we've got a strength and conditioning coach there as well. So you're tying in between, you got someone coming in with an injury all the time, and you're going, okay, instead of me having to rehab it for you, I'm telling a strength and conditioning coach what it is they've got wrong, and they're like, all right, I'll write a program. I'll double check with you if this is the areas that we're focusing on, but they already know. They already know that this is exactly
you can speak their language a little bit more.
And you can talk to them, they understand what you're saying. She'll talk to me and I'll understand what she's saying. It's pretty unreal, like just to be able to be part of like full proper gym, everything, like trainers' rooms set out perfectly, 2 tables, everything equipment wise, everything you need is there.
Does that make you feel, again, at the lower levels, what I've experienced is sometimes you don't have an impact because you're doing 5 or 6 different roles and you're doing them like 25% value because you're managing a group of 40 or 50 blokes or girls or whatever it is. When you get to that Norwood level where you've got yourself, probably got a sports doc, you've got a S&C as well, do you feel like you can actually have more of an impact?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. You find like, if you feel like you don't know something, you've got them above you. You can ask them the questions. If you're like, you've got someone who's gotten injured and all of a sudden you're just like, I've got no idea what sort of technique I need to do, what assessment I need to do to make sure that I can figure out what's going on. And those were the initial days. Like I had no idea, but I was kind of I knew the area that it was. I just didn't know the right sort of assessment I should be doing. And that's where I got that advice from them and just got feedback and showed how to do things. But whereas nowadays it's a little bit different.
So why did you get into that? You said you wanted to learn more practical side. Like
it was the hands-on. So like at VU we do study a little bit differently. It's a block model. So you do 1 unit for every 4 weeks, and then you do a new unit every 4 weeks, as opposed to 12.
I actually like it.
It's not bad. It's just it's very tedious and it's very like in your face. You get basically it's 3 weeks that you learn, and then the 4th week is all your assessments. So when you're learning like cranial nerves in the head, like and anatomy,
you better learn it in 3 weeks.
It's a long 3 weeks. So it's by the end of it, you're gassed, and you would have seen me. I was zombie for most.
It was almost like you were going through a training program. You were building up for 3 weeks, and then you had your peak week, and then you had to deload.
There was no deload. It was just.
But it was just up.
It was just a constant line going up, and then eventually I just.
Yeah, when you have a break.
When a break, I'd be like, thank you, please.
I can actually sleep in on my days off instead of get up and study.
Yeah, and look, I've been able to like manage that as well. Like I think that's where you've always seen as well. Like yes, I take on a lot of things, but I'm getting used to it, and then I kind of push myself a little bit more and a little more until eventually I crash.
It happens the best of us. So what's the next couple of things for you then? Like what are you doing? You got 20 days till you're a graduate.
Yep.
You've already celebrated once. You're going to celebrate again.
Yeah. So we've got uni ball coming up. So it would be the last one. I said I've allowed my girlfriend to come with me to this time.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah, very. So yeah, we'll have a big one there. That'll be literally a couple of days after we finish, so everyone will be completely done. And then there's probably just be a couple of like little courses for myself just to improve.
What are you thinking? Like some manual skills, some needling, some like what are you thinking?
So I've got the introductory to needling. I'll probably want to practice a little bit more at it and get a little bit better at it, because I still wouldn't say I'm confident in any way. Got a couple of friends who do it, and they're really good, so I might just shadow a little bit and get some more tips.
Leroy uses needles quite a bit. Yeah. Every now and then when he feels like the other techniques aren't working, because I think there's some good research coming out in terms of like releasing current, like electrical current that's in the tissue. You can
do the electrical stimulus to it. And that has shown to be pretty beneficial, because it's similar to same, like you get electroshock wave therapy. Same deal.
Yeah, but it's obviously at a deeper level, because you can go quite far into the muscle.
I would say dry needling is kind of more targeted to like an acute patient, whereas you can go the electrotherapy to someone who's been chronic for ages, someone who's got like lateral epicondylalgia. That's like awesome for them, especially if they're getting to a point where they're just
nothing else is working. Nothing else is working.
No isometrics are working. Nothing like that.
So do you want to explain like the role of an osteo? Like, what to start with? What are you kind of taught? What are the general things that you're taught? And don't just say everything, because that doesn't count.
Everything, but
it's strong anatomy. It's strong physiology. What about practical techniques? Is it exercise? Is it needling? Is it massage? Is it manipulations? Is it like what are the type of things that are involved?
So there's obviously a lot more nowadays as opposed to what they first got taught back in the day. The main ones that you kind of would be using is like an MET. So most of you guys would probably understand it as like a PNF stretch. Same sort of concept, exactly the same. You do your soft tissue stuff, and that can be a bunch of heaps of different things. So you can go across the fiber, you can go with it. You can do inhibition, which is where you're pushing on the muscle.
Are you going with hands or are you going with tools?
We're all hands mainly. I think that's how you kind of differentiate a little bit. We like to use our hands.
Yeah, and Kyra is more. Yeah.
They use a lot of their tools, which again, that's fine. Whatever works for your purpose, what saves your body probably that way.
Maybe, yeah.
I've gone through multiple like thumb sprains in my learning years. Knowing now that use different parts of your body to treat. I use my elbow all the time, I use my forearms. But yeah, basically there's a bunch of different things that you can do soft tissue wise. Like you find a tender spot, people talk about it being like they're knots. Like we try and steer away from that a little bit, but basically you find that sore spot that you have, you apply pressure to it, 60 to 90 seconds, that should start to release on its own. That's one of our techniques.
Like bringing sensation to an area that...
Yeah, heightened sensation, and then eventually it just levels out.
Because it's obviously, you can say if I'm right or wrong, it seems to be all about manipulating someone's perception. Like it's you're trying to target directly nervous system, fight or flight response. Definitely. Can we down regulate this so that we can then actually...
That's very much like osteo. You really want to... like you said, down-regulate that sympathetic nervous system so that person can relax. Stress is such an important factor when it comes to pain. If you can get someone's pain to die down just by calming them down.
Like that's why people would see like breathing techniques and like some deep parasympathetic breathing. It's like there's a reason that works, and it's typically because of this nervous system like auto-regulation that we have that's always like up and go and go and go, and there's something, the next thing's on our mind, we introduce exercise, like it's good stress, but it's still that sympathetic response. So it sounds like osteo is trying to find ways to bring that down so the body can almost do its own thing by itself, like heal itself.
Yes, really. Exactly, because the body is capable of healing itself, right? We're just trying to find ways to get the person to do it themselves. So you can do all your little things that help as well, all your little yellow flaggy stress things that you want to encourage on the patient to utilize. That's always going to be the things that you want. You want them to be able to control themselves.
Sleep and give some examples, like more sleep, what other little things?
So sleep is always the biggest one. Stress is the other biggest one. You get those two working, or one up and one down, then you're going to find a good habit out of that. Diet's in there. If you're not eating well, you're not getting the right nutrition, that's not fueling your body correctly, you're not going to recover well. Yes. That's usually like the main exercise is the other one.
General activity, like getting a general like steps up a day.
Yes.
Can you take the
It's all little things.
stairs?
Like you think about sedentary lifestyle, that's always going to play a factor on someone's like tissue healing time.
Yeah.
If you're not getting the right sort of calories in, you're not getting
yeah.
burning enough calories. It's all
because I think because it's still a new industry. Well, maybe like 50 years old.
I'm gonna get grilled because I don't remember this off the top of my head. It's 1890s, I believe. It started.
Okay. So, but like as we can see evidence of like that type of slightly different practice to then purely massage or chiropractic that's like purely manipulate or majority of manipulations, and then you see other things.
It's quite funny. Like my friend actually put it in a really good way. If like a chiro, a physio, and a GP made a baby, that's your osteo.
Yeah, you're trying to be quite general.
Yeah,
super general, and think of having like 100 tools in your toolkit that I can use that here. I think I can use that here, and if it doesn't work, I'll use something else.
Yeah, and a lot of it, like you would have heard this, like we like to be pretty holistic. So we like to try and bring as many sort of things into the equation to help sort out the pain, or at least calm the pain down, and then try and give the person enough management tools that they can try and do it themselves. It's been a lot of fun. Like the more I've like obviously been learning it, this is what I'm going to be going forward with. I can't really back down on it now, but you know, the more I've started like listening into it and actually being hyped up about it, I start to really enjoy it. Like, it's cool.
Because I think there's misconceptions in every industry. There's people that hate on physios, people love them. People that hate on chiro, people that love them. People that myo, whatever opathy or ist we have at the end of it, whatever it is. Like, what are some of the things you hear about osteo that you're like, that's actually just not true?
We actually had a conversation about this in class yesterday.
Okay.
So some people like to think that osteo is a little bit like witch doctory.
You've got a magic hat on or something?
Witch doctory. I understand what they're thinking. Like we have some techniques which are indirect. Basically, like you think about all the direct techniques, they're the ones where we're pushing, we're trying to basically elicit a bit of pain to resolve that area. Indirect works on a completely different, like
almost like a confidence level in your practice. Like it works not because of exactly what you're doing, but because maybe the belief or the confidence the client might have in your practice, and because of other things you've done previously or the things you've done after. So if someone saw it in isolation without them hearing you say a thing, they're like, what is this guy doing?
Without any context behind it, you might look at it and go like, well, that's a bit sus. Like there's some techniques where you literally just hold an area. You follow which way it likes to move, but you're basically just holding, and then it works. So you think of it like that, and you go, okay.
What is this magic guy?
What is this magic?
Doctor? I doubt it. Doctor of dark arts.
Bit of Reiki there, you know.
And like some people don't realize that because we live in the Western world, right? Like we have so much skepticism on all that. If you went to Asia and you looked at some of the practice that they're doing, you'd be like, there's no way that works. Like herbal teas or herbal medicine and like, what's the one with your foot where you put pressure points that like attach to your like kidneys and stuff? Reflexology. Like this stuff has been around forever. We just don't see it in the Western world. Does that mean it doesn't work? No, but it might not always work because of exactly how some people believe it to.
And there's always that placebo effect.
100%, and it's a positive thing sometimes. As long as someone's getting out of their issue or their pain, then I don't know, like, does it really matter? Does it really matter too much? Like, I think people need to relax a bit. Yeah, 100%.
It's again, you hit that relaxation mode on that person, they're going to feel so much better.
And there is that tricky line where you go, ethical line. I mean, like, maybe this practice isn't doing exactly what I think it's doing, and I'm explaining it to the client, and then they think that that's doing that, and they always come back to me because they need to get that so they get out of their pain. That whole kind of circular ethical issue, it has to kind of happen to get belief to start with, and then you can slowly educate over time.
Yeah.
Right? We're not saying you have to go see an osteo every single week. Like that, if someone's requesting you or physio or something to see you every single week for something that's just generally painful, they're probably trying to steal your money. But if they're trying to progressively push you away to get you back and doing things, and like,
I mean, like you can even put that in the terms of personal trainer.
100%.
If you're able to train someone to the point that they're able to do it themselves, why do they need you?
100%.
So you could easily be like, all right, I need to see you these many days. I'm going to come all the time. We're not basically quitting. I'm going to make sure you're able to do this all the time with me there.
Yeah.
Or we start cutting you back from 3 sessions. All right, we're at 2 now. Let's go back to 1. Now all I want you to do is try and train on the days by yourself without me. You get them to leave. And
if motivation is the issue, then cool, get them in every single day, every week. But if motivation's clearly not the issue and they can do stuff on their own and you're holding them back, that's where the ethical line's like drawn, and you need to kind of be very cautious of those people. But if they're encouraging you to do it and you can't do it by yourself because you can't get yourself out of bed, or you can't do the exercise,
you need someone to wake you up at your door.
Knock on the door. You're like,
they're still in their pajamas.
Wouldn't be the first time. I had some clients like I knock on the door and like, holy shit. How many have you had that? Because you've had some early clients in the past.
I've had the ones where I've literally just got into their house and then they've sent me a message, not feeling well, and I'd be like, no.
I'm already here.
I'm here.
I'm at your door.
Let's do it.
You got 10 minutes.
You got 5. Let's go. I got someone to be after you.
So like, how do you feel your education the last couple of years has influenced what you do day to day with people in sessions? Like maybe think back to some of the clients that you've worked with and how learning something at uni has gone like, I could implement that here.
Okay. I think mine comes from, I guess, learning that you've got to be you've got to be like patient-centered has been that like austere way. So I've tried to change it into like client-centered while I'm here.
Yeah, patient.
When I first started, it used to be just like exercises that I knew were good, and I really liked them because that's the way I trained.
You've done them before,
because I've done them. They worked really well. So it would be, all right, I train this person with these, and then the next person, I'll train them with this as well. But then you start to realize, again, it's not very specific to that person. You've got to find out, all right, they've got these limitations here. If I target this area more, I'm going to get more out of it. They're going to get a better relief or get more benefit.
Stimulus, like it's just different stimulus. When you say limitations, do you mean like actual physical structural limitations, or they just don't like it?
More physical structural. I guess I think a lot of my clients have been
complex.
I've got a lot of the injured clients. Yeah. And again, like
practice.
I enjoy it. Yeah. Like it puts me into like the field that I want. So yeah, I've had all the people who've had like rheumatoid arthritis, shoulder complaints, knee complaints, low back.
So a lot of chronic painy stuff.
Lateral epicondylolder. There you go. Yeah. So there was another one there. So just trying to like, yes, you've got guidelines that you can follow, which will always be beneficial to this person, but you got to still try and tailor it towards this person, like as well as give them other things that they can do on their own. You got to be able to explain to them what it is that's aggravating their factors and how you can kind of get them to stop doing it. Like it's hard when people are working and that's the thing that causes their pain. So you've got to kind of find
just quit your job.
And you got to find an in-between balance with them. Like, and if I can't fix it there, you've got to like. I mean, this is me kind of going out of my scope just because of that's a little bit of just extra knowledge that I've learned from uni. And sometimes I've got to be careful a little bit there as well. As much as I know it, I can't necessarily always be too impactful.
I think I spoke to Scott about this on the other podcast the other week. I think scope of practice is a tricky one because you really should follow it where possible.
Yes.
Until you can't.
Yes.
And what I mean by a variable of can't is like they're not going. Like they genuinely like nothing's helping them, and you have to go somewhere else, or like they're not going to go see. When you can step over is when they're not going to go see someone else.
Yeah. Or
they've tried that person and it didn't help them, or they have this like blockage in their brain of like I'm not going to see another physio. Nick, can you give me something to try? And they've asked you for that. That's when you can like edge over it. Yeah, edge over it cautiously.
Yes.
But you edge over it.
There's always a bit of caution.
100%. And nutrition and exercise and all this type of stuff. And if we just stayed within this narrow, like, I can only do exactly what they've, like,
the code of conduct says.
The personal training guidelines say, you just wouldn't be getting your clients the best results.
And you're also not learning for yourself either.
100%. Like, you're allowed to have a little bit of trial and error. So you said you want to do some needling stuff. What are the other stuff that you want to work on? Because you'll be into study. You don't know what to do with yourself anymore.
Yeah, I think, again, like it's all very patient specific. So you need to know what is going to help this person. Someone might come in and be like, I really like dry needling. There you go.
Like, I wish I had that service.
I wish I had that service.
Yeah.
I'm going to get onto it. Yes, I may not be the most confident at it right now, but something that can still be improved and I can get better with and get better at doing it for my patients. But I think I'd love to do a bit of like functional cupping. Like, they're pretty cool actually. I've never had it on myself.
I haven't either. One of my mates, Mayo, works and does, it seems to be a reasonable amount of cupping. Seems like a good practice. Again, that stress relief, that like down regulation of the nervous system. If it helps, then it helps, right? Like, to some extent.
And I think even jumping back onto that exercise side of things, either like a functional training or, which I guess would tie in really well with osteo, or I'd love to even just do SNC.
Don't do the ASCA.
Don't.
In the nicest way possible, it sucks. If you wanted to do, that's actually out to anyone here. Hopefully, no one's going to fucking from ASCA is going to be watching this. The level 1 is so basic that, for a reason, it's meant to be entry level for anyone that doesn't want to go do a degree or doesn't want to go do a certificate in something else to get into it. It's for parents. It's for sports coaches that want a general idea of what weightlifting and general conditioning is.
And you already learned that in exercise science.
You do. So if you're going to do an ASCA, go straight to level 2. You actually have to do a bit of study and write a small little paper and a little article and potentially get it published, which is kind of cool. Like what you've already done now with hamstring stuff. But you probably want to do it again. You don't want to do it again. Actually, that's a cool topic. Talk to me about what that process is like. Like when you have to almost... Did you publish the paper?
No.
Okay. It's not in... No, it wasn't...
It's just... Yeah, look, probably could have done it better.
Okay.
In saying that. I did it with a partner.
Because it was a literature review?
Yeah, so... It was more... We ended up doing like a qualitative study.
Okay.
Instead of quant. We decided we wanted to... We were focusing on our OSCE. We wanted to... what would be the kind of like easier option for us? Thinking back to it, it would have... Like, I'm probably going to regret not doing a quant. But there's always time to do another.
Yeah, well, you can just run the data on the stuff that you've already found before if you really wanted to.
Yeah, so we did it a little bit differently. We looked at proximal hamstring avulsions, and we were looking. I guess both of us, because we actually, this is one of my mates who I do sports trainer with. We've seen multiple like hamstring strains, and we've had the occasional proximal hamstring avulsion. So with that, you have to get surgery. Unless you want, if you're lucky, you might be able to get away with it being conservative. But there's no guidelines, like no clinical practice guidelines for hamstring strains or like...
I've only seen...
there's like...
ACU have a hamstring group, Jack Hickey, David, something. There's like 4 of them. They've got some general guidelines.
Yeah, it's that's what I mean. There's general guidelines. There's things that people have like published on their own website. Yeah. But there's no clinical guidelines available for people.
Yeah, across.
So if like this is again tying it back to osteo. You have someone who walks into your door, and they present with a proximal hamstring avulsion, and they've come to you for the rehab side of things. What do you do? And
you have to follow a general principle result, but. Process, but we don't know, like, I feel like the issue is there. You don't know how X tissue is going to respond. Like, does the calf respond slightly differently? Does the hamstring respond slightly differently? What factors come into play when you're looking at a quad, or if there's some tendon damage as well? It's like, how do you do both at the same time when they potentially have different loading parameters? Definitely. What did you find? What did you? So how we went about doing it, we did surveys to a whole heap of bunch of different practitioners, physios, osteos. We had an SNC coach in there as well, and we basically were just checking to see like how they went about it. Did they use guidelines from different little websites, or did they use their own knowledge to do it? We actually had that 50-50 split between people using their own knowledge and guidelines. Someone else's guideline they've seen somewhere. Yeah, so it was more so just interesting to find like
based on the people in Melbourne, how different they were compared to like guidelines. We used a guideline that one of the participants provided us with, compared that to what
the general
consensus was when they would kind of use the different phases and when they would kind of put through each of those different exercises.
Like 0 to 3 days. What are you doing 0 to 3 days post grade 1, grade 2 hamstring strain?
When will you do your strengthening exercise? When will you start cardiovascular? When will you start?
Do you tolerate any pain? What level of pain do you tolerate in rehab? Like, when do you start? As you said, the running, like, the hamstring is quite involved in running. So it's like, when do you expose to high speed? How do you progress high speed? How do you progress change of direction? Because like, there's a lot of, well, there's not a lot of literature. There's literature on return to like function, like as in work your job, but there's not much literature.
It's all towards return to play.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's no like, again, most of the time someone does a proximal hamstring avulsion, they're going to be playing sport.
They're not lifting a box in the office.
No, they're not at all. So yes, it's very much targeted to a sports person, a sports athlete, anything like that. But we found it really interesting because you had that equal split. But all the practitioners that did give us their recommendations, they were like almost completely way off.
Okay.
Like, yes, they were there, but guidelines were a lot more cautious. They gave maybe like an extra couple of weeks on top of.
Yeah. What was the recommended return to play for like timeline for grade 1?
So grade 1. So proximal hamstring is more like grade 3.
Okay.
So it's like complete rupture off.
Okay. Cool. What was the?
So they give you a guideline of. Up to 24 weeks.
Jesus.
So yeah, it's a long injury.
That's conservative.
Whereas we had people who were going all the way up to like 16 was their max.
Yeah.
We had nothing about that 8 weeks afterwards.
Really?
Yeah.
I would be spewing if my primary healthcare practitioner told me 24 weeks past hamstring before you're back to playing sport.
And that's after surgery. So you've already obviously been dealing with this.
Yeah.
And then bang, surgery. Now we start the rehab.
And if you look at AFL, it's number one injury in AFL. Of the top level,
hamstring strain.
Hamstring strain. Obviously associated with more repeated hamstring strain. So you have one hamstring strain, your likelihood goes up a huge amount. Lots of high speed effort. So it's likely if you've done your hamstring once, you're going to do it again.
And it's likely as soon as you do your hamstring, you're probably going to do your calf.
There's something else that's going to go because the load will shift somewhere else. Yeah, for sure. That's interesting to me that there's like 24 weeks is the.
Now that I think about it, it would have been a pretty cool one to kind of do as a quantitative.
Hurry up and do it. I'm thinking about doing a minor project for my masters at the moment. I'm like, do I go do?
Oh, you're pretty close now, aren't you?
I should be done. I'm just being lazy as. It's like, do I do 240 hours of placement? I don't know how I'm going to do that, or do I do a minor project? Minor project would be cool. We're already spoken about hamstrings.
Interested in hamstrings now?
Yeah, always have been.
If my paper was published, you could have
just give me your responses, and I'll just have a look. I'll just say it's the paper's pre-release or something like that. Perfect. Enough sports sciencey osteo talk. What is planned these next couple of months? You're going to graduate. And you're going to go overseas. What are you doing?
So I've just started kind of like applying for my ARPA registration, doing all the little things that I can do now. Basically, that goes through once. So the application gets assessed once they send through my graduation thing to them, or certificate or whatever, and then takes about 6 weeks roughly for that to go in the all clear. And I'll jump into osteo when that's done. But the idea is I want to travel next year.
Okay. Get stable first.
Really get stable first.
Practice for a bit.
The other thing is hard to save money on a on a student
studying for 3 years
on a student budget. So start work full time, jump into it, full swing. It's going to be tough, I know, but it'll be a nice little.
Because tell us where the clinic's going to be, because you already got a job. Am I allowed to say that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I've got a job. I was fortunate enough to get it 3 months ago. Doing a little bit of like an internship with them. I knew my head osteo at the football club is also there, so it's very handy. But yeah, so we've got 3 clinics. Main one is based out of Doncaster East, and then we've got like another clinic in Donville and Warrandyte. So perfect for me because I live in the middle of all 3 of them. Yeah, you could
literally drive along one road.
Yep, basically. Like all of them meet within 10 minutes of each other. One of them is like 2 minutes from my house. So it's awesome to like start off in an area that I know. Easy to get people to come to me. Obviously, we'll see what happens when it comes to like transitioning and actually taking patients on. Got to learn, got to pick up all that. But in that scheme of thing, that's more like kind of the work side of things. But I think I'm just looking forward to not being so, like I say this now, but like I'm looking forward to not being so tired. But I also just want to just have that little bit of free time to be able to focus on myself a little bit more.
Get back to cricket.
I still do cricket.
Yeah, but like actually train twice a week.
So I was only training once a week, and then when I could make things, I would. Missed a few games just based on assessments and things. So yeah, just probably jump into it full steam ahead, and then see what I can do from there. And
where do you want to travel?
So we've got a big sort of list in Europe. We want to do. The idea is 2.5 months. So it's going to be a full one next year, roughly June, July.
It's a good idea, isn't it, Charles?
Yeah.
2.5 months in Europe.
We're going to do UK, France, Italy, Greece, Portugal, Spain, Ireland.
Where are you most excited to go?
I think that like Amalfi Coast, get Italy, get
some sun.
Get sun. I just want clear blue water and sun on me. Like as much as relaxation as I can get. Because then when I come back, it's going to be jump back into it, and the travel bug will probably be still there, but I won't be able to do it anytime soon.
You just have to work a year and then go back again. What about, you're going to see any sport, and is there going to be any events, anything on while you're away? Festivals, surely. If you're in Germany, you've got to go to something.
I'm pretty sure Germany is somewhere we were considering. It will be right towards the end of like our trip. And I do have family from South Africa who said they were going to come up at some point. Cool. So, and we've got some who live in like UK and whatnot. So we were thinking there's a festival in Germany called Indian Spirit. I'm not sure if you've heard of that one.
Not really, no.
Similar to like a boom sort of thing. So it's like 8 days. Too long.
That's a long time.
It's too long. Yeah. Too long. I'll go for 2 days. I don't think my body can handle that anymore.
No. Even just tent life is just...
Even just 1 day.
1 day is plenty, actually. 1 day is plenty. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Nick. It's been a pleasure. Good chats, and I look forward to seeing what the next couple of months has in store for you.
Perfect. Cheers.